Hi, everybody, and welcome to Something to Cry About, Parenting While Black. My name is Leslie Grover, and I am a senior writer and digital content creator for Push Black. And we are pleased to have today our two guests. We're going to have an amazing time today. I can already tell. Our first guest, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat all of a sudden. Our first guest today is Domari Dickinson. She is a mother of four, two boys and two girls, and a certified positive discipline parent educator who helps Black parents identify and break their toxic parenting patterns. After working as an educator and instructional coach for over 15 years, Domari decided to use her teaching and curriculum design skills to create programs that provide parents with the tools and support they need to show up in a more positive, purposeful, and peaceful way. In 2017, she launched Positive and Purposeful Parenting, where she has helped countless parents across the world navigate the everyday challenges of life with kids through her parenting programs, high energy workshops, online challenges, and one-on-one coaching. Welcome, Domari.
Hey y'all. Every time someone reads my bio, I'm like, is that the one I submitted? Because it changes like every week. But I'm glad that high energy piece was in there. So y'all know what this is about to be, because yes, we about to bring it.
Love it. Welcome. Our second guest is Yolanda Williams. Yolanda Williams is a single mom, racial justice educator, positive discipline coach, and founder of Parenting Decolonized. Through her work, she empowers parents with tools to decolonize their mindsets and divest from white supremacy in order to raise the next generation of emotionally well, liberated, free thinking, and in the process, form deeper, more intentional relationships with their children. So welcome, Yolanda.
Hi, welcome. And I'm a single mom, so you will hear my daughter. So happy to be here with y'all.
Love it. Thank you so much. So let's hop right into it. So the first thing we want to get into is like to think about Black culture. You know, we're going to be talking about whoopings. There's a lot of controversy around whoopings and a lot of things that, you know, are going on in our community around whoopings. Where did this link? I mean, Black people are known for like, we're the ones who whoop our children for any little thing. Where did this link between Black people and whoopings come from?
I mean, enslavement. I mean, let's just call it what it is. This is some slavery residue is what we're talking about here. If you really want to get into the history of it, Black kidnapped Africans learned how to be parents on a plantation. And so that brutality, that dehumanizing behavior, that's what was modeled as far as like parenthood. And then on top of that, a lot of it is around protection. Our fears are very valid around white supremacy, around police brutality. And so I don't know if y'all ever read Dr. Joyce DeGroy, did I get that right, Domari? Post-traumatic slave syndrome. She just talks about how we took on some of that slavery residue in order to protect our children. So that's where it started.
Thank you. Great. So, okay, so that's enslavement. And we're thinking about that, you know, and our ancestors went through that enslavement. What on earth would have been the perceived benefits after enslavement of whooping our children?
I mean, you want me to take this one too? Because it's still protection. It's still fear. That's what it's all rooted in, right? Go ahead, Domari.
I was just going to say, it's the same thing, right? It's that, and a lot of habits are passed down and we continue to do them without really understanding or stopping to ask why, right? So it's like, okay, this is what my mama and them did, so this is what I got to do. But she did it because that's what her grandmother did, and she did it because, you know what I'm saying? And at a time it was, if you don't do what I say in this moment, it could cost you your life, right? You could be killed, you could be sold away from me. So it was that fear, and it was necessary at that time. right? And like Yolanda said, there's still fears that are causing us to show up in that way. The work that we do is really challenging folks to stop and be like, why am I doing this? Is this fear still valid? And is there another way that I can show up for my kids? Like, is there something else that I can do?
Wonderful. Yeah. So let's go back even further than enslavement. How did Africans discipline children, before they got colonized and brought to this country and enslaved?
I mean,
Yolanda.
I can't really speak to all the practices, but I just know that a lot of African, the ones that I looked at, what was that one, Domari, that would ask, what was the question?
How are the children?
How are the children?
The
And
children are well.
that was like a greeting, because that particular tribe was like, if the children are good, then everybody's good. Like they used the children as a barometer, and children were seen as human beings, as people who were worthy of respect, as revered people in some of these tribes. I haven't done all the research, but what I do know is that the brutality that a lot of Black people use in their homes is not ancestral. That is, whooping your kids is the whitest thing you could ever do.
Yeah. So like,
I'll be over here doing this the whole time, y'all.
I'm here for it. And let me say, as an aside, I need those earrings. Okay.
Right. Because I'm just gonna ask.
Okay.
Etsy,
Yeah.
I'm gonna send y'all the link.
Yes, ma'am. So we had these practices with us. Some of our practices, from our African roots stayed with us, but some of them didn't. Like, what happened? What happened to us?
Brutality.
Colonization,
Brutality, dehumanizing, snatching people from from their homeland, and then completely stripping them of all things human.
it's
You
the
gotta
same reason we speak English right now.
Right. It's just, that is what it is. And basically making it so, like, if you do this, you will die. Like, that is the start. It wasn't like there was no nuance, like in enslavement. These people who were kidnapped and enslaved and brutalized, like, every day, they didn't know if they're going to live or die. And so that kind of stress, I mean, we call it PTSD now, but we got that. I'm pretty sure they live with that every single day of their lives, just as we do now. And so we can't expect for someone to be living under constant violence, constant fear, constant anxiety, to not glean from that. It's what's being modeled to them. And then, after the generations, after even the slave trade, the Africans stopped being kidnapped and it just became chattel slavery, then it was really really brutal. Then it was really like, you are simply just a cow to us, a piece of property, and we are going to do everything we can to make you feel that way. So it was just a mentality. And then it went from there to Reconstruction, where Black folks were being brutalized daily, killed daily. Then it went from there to Jim Crow, and then from there to the crack epidemic. Well, that was scary for a lot of parents, that whole thing. So all these fears are really valid, and they came from the love we have from our children, right? We don't want them to be snatched from us, and we know that if they do, there may not be any recourse, but we cannot become the oppressors because we are oppressed.
Sure. So let me ask, let's move it up to date. Does whooping our children make them more violent? Because there are some studies that say that, if you whoop your children, they're going to learn that this is a way to move in the world and this is a way to communicate. What is the truth about whooping our children and their tendency to be violent or not?
The science it's over 50 years worth of science. It's not my opinion. It's not me saying that it's harmful. And I do want to clarify, because this is something that comes up all the time. People will say, well, I don't whoop my kids, I spank them. I don't whoop my kids, I just hit them. I don't whoop my kids, I just pop them. I don't whoop my kids, I just
Or I don't beat them. Yeah.
We're going to say physical discipline, right? So when you're touching your kids in a way that can hurt them, right? A pop, a pluck, a hit, a smack, a punch, whatever it is, because people want to quantify and say, I'm not doing that thing you're talking about, so I'm good, right?
Mhm.
All of that has been proven scientifically to impact brains and how they are developing, right? So it's not that, oh, I think it's bad because you shouldn't put your hands on anybody. The science shows it impacts how their brains develop. And it impacts the chemicals that are released in their bodies, and their bodies adjust to getting those chemicals, and they associate certain things with being hit. So it's not that, oh, some kids might be impacted. Like, this is brain development, it's brain science. So it's a real thing. Like, it causes harm. It changes how their brains are able to work. It changes how their brains are able to grow and develop. It's real.
And we are in a group, and people are really upset with how Black students are treated in school. They want to put all the Black kids in, in special ed. They want to put all the Black kids in, treat Black children like they are stupid. Well, then maybe we should stop doing that at home, because honestly, we're modeling the same harm in our homes that schools are doing to our children, that the carceral state is doing to our children. We are harming them by the same disciplinary practices. If we don't want our children to be placed in, special ed classes and all this kind of stuff, then maybe we should start doing the thing that's best for them and help with their brain development, and not do the things that will actually harm their brain development.
Wonderful. Okay. So let's go to the opposite end of this. A lot of Black parents will say things to their kids like, you can't be like these little white kids who run around and cuss their parents out or kill them in their sleep, because white parents don't discipline their kids. So do kids who don't get whippings, and I think too, a lot of Black people just think that whooping is the only way that you can discipline your child. So let me break my questions into two parts. The first question is, do kids who don't get whooped turn out to be boundaryless, disrespectful? I mean, because that's what my parents have said that before.
Well, because it's so binary to people. It's like either you whipping them or they are serial killers. It's a ridiculous binary. And I need for all of us to start thinking more non-dualistically. Just really get outside the box. Stop thinking so binary, because that is a tool of white supremacy culture, by the way, for us to think so either or. Can we just look at the world around us? Does it seem like a happy place? A place where we love and respect each other's humanity? Does it feel like a place that is a good place to live right now? More than 70% of households across cultures and races hit their children. It is reflected out in the society we have today. That is why there's school shootings. That is why there's so much violence in the streets. That's why we see all of this unhappiness and anxiety and all these things going on, because we don't respect our children. And it is playing back into all of these really harmful systemic oppression. That's my opinion, at least.
It's just that's what I said.
I'm just like, we want to always say that, but it's like the barometer, we can see it in the world. Is it effective to y'all? Do you really feel like this traditional old school parenting has been effective in the long run for the Black community as a whole? Like, seriously, people, let's keep it real.
No, it's not working. If it was working, you only have to do it one time. And like, the other thing that we haven't brought up yet is that this idea of whooping kids, a lot of times parents get to that point because they feel the need to control their kids, right? And in order for me to be a good parent, right, especially in the Black community, like, I have to have my kids in line. I have to have them in check. I have to be able to control them. That idea is one that we push back again and say, so you can whoop your kids all the time, but that's not going to necessarily determine who they're going to be, right? Or that they're going to do these things. We can't control, no matter how much we want to believe it, who our kids are going to be, right? Or what they are or aren't going to do. That was really hard for me to accept because I wanted to believe, well, if I did these things, then my kids are going to be awesome. And that means I'm going to be a great mom, right? But once I was like, dude, you You can do all of the right things and your kid still has free will to choose who they want to be and how they want to be. Yeah. So now my focus isn't, I have to control my kids, but it's like, no matter what they end up doing in life, I want my kids to know that they are loved. Me hitting them is not going to communicate that. Full stop.
Full stop. Period.
That's it, right? Like my kids deserve to know that they have a voice, that their voice matters, that they deserve to be respected. And I can't expect them to hold the world accountable to doing that, right? To letting them have a voice, to respecting them if I don't do that at home. Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, let me also say, I used to spank my kids, right? My oldest daughter is 20. Oh, y'all, she about to be 21 in 2 months. My oldest is 21. I have boys that are 10 and 12, and then my youngest is 6. All my oldest 3 have all been spanked. My daughter never has, because I shifted about 5 years ago, right? 6. Okay, thank you, Bill. You know, she up here keeping me in check, keeping me in line. So I know that the harm that I caused, that it's something that I'm continuing to work to undo, to build better relationship with my kids, because I want them to want to be around me, right? I don't want it to be, oh, I'm 18 and I'm gone and I ain't never looking back. Like, if they choose to have kids, I want them to want to bring my grandbabies around me. Mm-hmm. So I want this to be a safe space, a loving space. And also that's who I want to send out into the world. Not someone who thinks when there's a conflict, it's going to have to hurt either me or somebody else in order for it to get resolved, right? Not for someone to think like, when I have a disagreement with someone or when someone does something I don't like, the way that I handle that is through physical violence.
And I also, to Domari's point, we're not necessarily even teaching our children when we're spanking them. We're not showing them how to have emotional control, emotional regulation. We're not teaching them conflict resolution. We're not teaching them how to have a respectful dialogue. We're not teaching them that you can be angry and still respect someone enough to not hurt them. We are teaching them to go to that really binary place where it's just like, okay, here's a conflict and I'm about to take it to 100.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground. They don't know how to diffuse nothing. And we see it in schools. We see it, when we go out to malls, and everybody's like, kids these days, they learning from y'all. They're watching the adults around them have no impulse control, throw tantrums in the stores, hit them when they get upset or frustrated. That's where they're learning it from. It is being modeled to them. And then I also want to just point out that a lot of Black parents will be like, well, I turned out fine, right? Or a parent will say that, well, you turned out fine, look at your life. And it's all based on really superficial things. It is never about internally what's going on inside. It is about, did you get a job? Did you go to college? Did you make some money? It is never about, do you have anxiety? Do you have, are you traumatized from this? Are you able to make a move without second guessing yourself 50 million times? Do you have imposter syndrome? Are you struggling in relationships? Do you know how to communicate in relationships? It's never that. It is, did you go out and get a job and now you're successful? So I must did a good thing. And again, that is feeding back into another oppressive system of capitalism. All of it is a feedback loop, y'all. So our behavior is, you got to ask yourself, how am I investing in and gatekeeping for oppressive systems that oppress me? And whooping is one of them.
Yeah.
Well, yes to everything. I mean, just all yes. So let me say, so I have a son and he's 13. And I remember the moment that made me stop whooping him. He was about 6 or 7 years old. And I don't even remember what he had done. But when I came forward to whoop him, there was a look of such profound fear on his face that I felt like I was struck by lightning. And that was what made me say, I'm not gonna whoop my son. I can find other ways to discipline him. I can find something else, but to have my child look at me like that still gives me chills at this moment. For both of you being parents, was there a moment when you decided that I'm not going to whoop my child anymore? Like, tell us about that. And the reason that I'm asking you and the reason that I shared that is because many of our viewers and listeners might be in that space to where it's like, y'all are whooping out of anger, or you can whoop, but you're just not whooping right. So what was your come to Jesus moment where you said, hey, you know what? This is not the way that I'm going to discipline my child?
I was smiling when you were telling yours because mine was exactly the same. Like my boys were fighting and like, so they're 18 months apart. They're super, super close. So that wasn't something that I was used to. So I'm like, wait, like, are they physically fighting each other? Wait a minute, we're not doing this. So I ran in the room like, oh, if y'all want to fight, then come on, we gonna fight. Y'all gonna have to fight me. And it was the same thing. The look on my son's face was just, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's really scared of me. I think I'm supposed to be protecting him, like not the one causing the fear. And so you will never hear me say, like, I don't understand how parents can hit their kids, because I do. I still remember being so frustrated that I couldn't get them to do what I wanted them to do, that was the only thing that I was pulling from. I was like, I'm just going to make you feel bad about making me feel bad. Right. And I always felt justified in doing it. Like, see, if you wouldn't have done this, then I wouldn't have had to hit you. If you would have just did what I asked, then I wouldn't have had to do this. Right. And so I get that. But I did have that moment. And from that moment on, I was like, oh my gosh, this is something I can't continue to do. And that, but me just making that decision didn't also give me better things to do. Right. I was just like, I'm taking this off the table. So I always like to say, like, there were levels for me. So it went from like, I used to be a yeller and a hitter, and I'm from upstate New York, so I have a real slick mouth. And I used to say real slick things to my kids, like, oh, I'm not hitting you, but I'm still going to be yelling and making you feel bad and, berating you. So it took a lot of healing for me to get to the point where I can show up for them in a way that we've all agreed on looks and feels and sounds like respect for us. It wasn't just, oh, I'm gonna stop hitting y'all and now everything's working out. There were a lot of mindsets that I had to shift also, just about what it means to be a mother, right? And what it means for them to be children and the expectations that I had. So anybody who's ever sat in space with me or worked with me knows that my favorite question is why, because it's one I ask all the time. Like, why am I feeling so challenged by this behavior? Why do I believe that I have to make this stop? Why is this a thing for me? And it wasn't easy to do that work, because I had to really dig deep and be like, ooh, I don't like where this is taking me. This don't even really feel real good. But it was necessary for me to get to that point where it was like, yeah, there's some stuff you got to heal, right? And some stuff you got to do. And then to be in community with folks like Yolanda, who can say, look, here's something else to try. Here's a new tool. And to have people telling me, like, it's okay that you're still messing it up, right? You're on the right path, right? You're making this shift, and we will forever be learning and forever be growing and forever messing it up.
Listen,
that's a part of it too, right? We're gonna rupture, we're gonna repair. But it's showing our kids, like, you are worthy of me taking this time to fix this, to try something different, to try something better. And I think a lot of parents struggle with that because they were made to feel like they didn't deserve what we're asking them to give to their kids, right? Well, nobody let me have a voice when I was younger. My parents used to hit me, right? I didn't deserve to be safe. I didn't deserve to be seen. I didn't deserve to be heard. And it's like, you did deserve that. You just didn't get it. But now you have the chance to give that to your kids. And so I think all of the mindset shifts that have come up as part of this journey is something that a lot of folks want to skip that part, right? And to be like, okay, so if I'm not going to beat them, then what am I gonna do? Well, there's a lot of healing and growing that we're going to do, hopefully in community, to help get you to this point where you have other tools and strategies to help you interact with your kid. But it's never about Yolanda and I are going to sit with you and give you ways to control your kids, because that's another mindset shift. Like, instead of thinking about how to control them, can I be in community with my children and teach them how to be in community with other people, starting with this little community inside our house.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
I haven't spanked Gia. So I decided to do this parenting style when I was pregnant. And it was after I fully thought I was going to raise her the way I was raised, until I was sitting there super pregnant one day. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't think I want to do that. Nah, there has to be a different way. So I started reading books, and I read Brain Rules for Baby. and they were talking about brain development. And so I was reading that and I was just like, I really want to do the things that's going to help her brain develop in a way that's, I have it right here, that's beneficial for her. So then I started reading into like discipline, and then that's when I found a positive discipline, but then I noticed that all the coaches were white. So that's how I was like, how do we make this more culturally relevant? Because what I just don't see myself in what they were talking about. So Gia hasn't ever been hit, but I've been harmful, yelling, snatched her up a few times. And when she's like done stuff like drawn on the wall. And so that for me, okay, listen, I know, baby, I know. For me, it's really just about learning the things inside of me that might trigger that person to come out, because she's there, always underneath the surface, just pop her real quick, so she can stop doing this once and for all. But that person doesn't even, I'm like, do you not know this child? She's just gonna smile at you and be like, don't do that again, okay? But even still, I have to constantly control myself. My first inclination, my first thought is to pop her. It is to be violent, because all of it is violent. Popping, hitting, snatching up, military exercises, all that stuff you do to your kids to hurt them purposely so they can learn a lesson is violent behavior. And that is something that I have to fight against, an urge in me that I have to fight against. So my first thought might be just pop her real quick. But I follow up with an action that does the opposite. And if I'm still doing something harmful, I really make sure that I'm apologizing to her.
Sure.
Gia is 4 and she is autistic. She's non-speaking, but she still gets a lot of apologies. I still tell her that nothing is her fault and that she doesn't deserve to be talked to in that way. She's on one right now. Give me one moment.
She's like, but what about me, Ma? I hear you saying my name. What?
Yeah, and that's beautiful. And thank you for that. So what I'm hearing and what I've heard so far is we're carrying that generational trauma, and that can express itself in the way that we discipline our children. And to really begin to think about parenting from a different viewpoint, and we're going to get more into that in just a second, we need to start with ourselves and healing. So let me ask this question. Is there ever a time, ever, when a child should be whooped? Because there might be some people out there who's saying, okay, I'm with y'all. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Generally speaking, with things you shouldn't whoop your children. It's not good for their brains. It's not good for their development. But my child, sometimes the only language they understand is a whooping or getting a tap.
Is that the only language that you've taught them?
Mm.
And so my answer to your question is, Leslie, if you don't think there's ever a time where it'd be okay for me to punch you in your face, then my answer is going to be the same.
Got it.
I'm not saying there might not be a time where I want to punch you in the face, right? Because people want to say, so you don't ever get mad at your kids? You don't ever want to yell? Every single day I have an opportunity to remind myself of the work that I'm doing. What I will say is that over the years, it's gotten easier. So how Yolanda said, my first instinct, that was me for a really long time. And I've just now getting to the point where my first instinct, the majority of the time, is just to stop and breathe, because I've been practicing for 5 years now, right? And I'm just now, some people might get there in 2, some people might get there in 10, different strokes for different folks, right? But it's taken me a while. So no, it's never, ever okay. And I don't want my kids to ever believe that there's something they might do that warrants me hitting them.
Got it. Thank you. So that being said, let's talk about decolonizing parenting. Let's talk about parenting for liberation. Tell us about that. First of all, what is that? What does that movement look like? Tell us about it. Can you talk about what it means to decolonize parenting and raising liberated kids?
First of all, let me just throw this out here real quick. That verse, spare the rod, spoil the child, is not in the Bible. It does not say that. And I need for y'all to stop cherry picking stuff from the Bible to excuse you hitting your children. Do you wear polyester? Do you wear blends of fabric? That is also in the Bible to not do, or you will be killed. Like, there is so much in the Bible that we are told not to do that we do. But when it comes to kids, we want to justify it. The rod, I want you to just picture a shepherd with his sheep, walking around with a sheep. He got his rod. Do you think the sheep will trust to lead? He's leading hundreds of sheep, not just one or two, hundreds of sheep. Do you really feel these sheep would fall in line with him and trust him, because sheep are really smart animals, to lead them if he was smacking the sheep upside the head every so often? Absolutely not. They use it to gently guide. They use the rod and they touch the sheep, but they use it to gently guide them to make sure they're following a path. That the rod is guidance. It is not violence. So you're going to have to come up with another excuse in order to justify why you think it's okay to hit your kids, because that's not one of them. I just got upset. I'm sorry. I can't
And this is so triggering because
it's just really just so it really does trigger me when I see that, because it's our children, they're kids, and they can't. If your child hauled off, they hit you back, because everyone has a right to defend themselves. As you tell them at school, someone hit you, hit them back. But when it comes to you, that's not like, why do you feel like you have a right to hit your child? I don't understand. Just because it's like this one verse, that's not true. It's not even in there. It's a poem. It's a completely different verse. It says something about hateth your your child. That verse is not in there. So we can stop that right now.
Yeah. So part of the decolonization work is really saying, let me stop and think about how systems of oppression, so maybe that's capitalism, maybe it's patriarchy, maybe it's white supremacy, how are these things showing up and how I'm interacting with my child, right? And what can I do to divest? What can I do to say, I'm not doing that anymore, I'm going to do something different intentionally? I like to believe that parents who are out here beating their kids, if they really sat down and were able to heal, right, do that inner work, and were given some other tools to still get the results that they think they want in their heads, right, to have this relationship with their kids, if they're willing to do this work, right, that we are doing, unpacking this, why do you have to control your kids? What if you were in community with them and could just collaborate, right? Would you be okay with that? Would say, okay, now I don't have to hit my kids. I'd rather do these other things, right? Like I can't believe that it feels good to people to hit their kids. It might feel good to get the results, those immediate results, because if you hitting the kid and they're scared, they're going to stop everything. And it looks like they're just stopping what you want them to do. But in that moment, their brain's like, oh, I'm just going to freeze, right? Some of your kids have that fight response. So it might not look like freeze, right? If like me, that's my stress response is to fight. But I think given that in being able to say, oh, there is another way, which is what we're doing here today, to say, yes, you get upset. Yes, your kid's going to do some things that you don't want them to do. And you don't have to just let it go. That's not what we're saying. We're not saying ignore it and let the kids do whatever they want. We're saying there's another way to deal with it, right? Yolanda talked about it earlier. There are ways where you can say, like, this is the issue that my child is having. Here's a way that I can support them through that and give them tools to deal with it the next time that it comes up. And none of that has to do with harming
Violence.
them.
Yeah, none of it. And a lot of it is our stuff that we have to do, controlling the environment. A lot of times people will be like, well, I popped my small child whose brain is forming, it starts at 18 months. That's what the studies show. A lot of people start hitting their kids around 18 months. And 18 months is when children are doing things because their brain is telling them to, because they're trying to learn the world around them. They're pulling up, they're touching things that are super dangerous. So a lot of people will be like, oh, I just pop them and they stop. But you're not teaching them to stop. You're teaching them to fear you and the repercussion, but you're not explaining why that needs to happen. But even at 18 months, you can't explain to an 18-month-old, like, hey, the socket, don't throw nothing up in there. So you cover the socket so they can't touch it. there's simple solutions that we just maybe haven't been modeled and haven't had the chance to learn, where we can control some of the environment in order to make sure that they're not doing things that put themselves in danger. Because a lot of people like to go to that extreme again, where it's like, oh, it's the socket, or they're about to run into the street. Well, maybe you should like hold their hand, or maybe go around. Like there's things that we can do to make sure that we are protecting them from themselves when they don't know what to do. But when they get a little bit older, you have to ask yourself, do they not understand? Because if they don't, then you shouldn't be hitting them. Or do they understand, and can you talk to them about it? Can you model a different way? Can you help them come up with solutions? I just feel like it's easier to hit someone than it is to really dig deep and be like, okay, let me control myself and let me figure out like, what is the need here? Because there's always a why and a need that's going on underneath that behavior. So what do they need in this moment from me? And again, that doesn't mean you're not going to be pissed off. It doesn't mean that you're not going to want to hit them. It just means that you're not following through with that violent behavior.
Wonderful. So, yeah. So, so I'm pausing because, that's a lot. It's all true, and it's a lot. And I'm thinking about those parents who are listening to us, who are just, this is new to them. Mm-hmm. This is, dispelling the rumor that our culture is associated with whooping, that it protects our children, like all the things that we use to justify whooping our children. Those have been dispelled. All of it.
There's no reason to hit a child ever.
Yeah. So my question is, can you give an example of some way to work with your child that's not whooping? Let me see. Maybe let me give a poor example.
Can we give a scenario?
I was gonna say, give us an example, or I know we got watching, so they can drop some.
Yeah, maybe if y'all are having an issue, you can drop it into the comments and we can help you through a scenario.
Before you even start, what I will say is, as we do this, it's not always an immediate response. So this white supremacy culture has taught us that sense of urgency. If we have an issue, we have to solve it right now. Right. So we have to divorce ourselves from that to say, okay, this is an issue. Got it. My child might not even be developmentally ready to be able to do this the way that I want them to do it. That doesn't mean that we can't have conversations about it, that I can't practice, and invite them into that. So it might take time. Right. And the reason I keep talking about community is because you have to surround yourself with people who understand, okay, we're working on this, instead of you're not going to beat them. Like, you don't see what you over there doing? Girl, you better get them.
I don't hang out with those folks. I'm sorry. I just don't, right? I can't.
Because that's their expectation and they want that immediate result. So yes, we can always, no matter what scenario it is, here's something to try. It might not work because all of our kids are different. So this isn't something where we can give you these 5 steps and say, here's how to do conscious parenting. If you do these 5 things, it'll be perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Never. They're people.
They're people. They're different from each other. Right. So what I do with my oldest is different from what I do with my youngest, because they're different people. Right. So it's not always going to look the same, but it's about that me being willing to investigate and to treat kids like they're freaking humans and like they deserve respect.
And with conscious parenting, it's about us. Right. So anytime a parent comes in and they're just like, I have a parenting group on Facebook, and anytime someone comes in, I always try to ask the parent about like how they're feeling, how they're showing up, because at the end of the day, if we are not doing that mindset work, it's so much harder to even just implement some of the conscious parenting things that we are going to say for you to do, because it's going to sound ridiculous to you sometimes. Sometimes it sounds like, wait a minute now, that's all you do? You don't do, they don't have to hurt. They don't have to no, they don't have, you don't have to hurt them.
So let me address something else, because another comment just came in. I think it's important about these mindset shifts. The way that we do looks very different, and how we treat our kids is very different from how we were treated and how a lot of people treat their kids. So we believe that our kids have a voice, right? And we also believe in consent culture. So if my kids don't want to be on video, I'm not going to put them on video. If something happened in my house that was a great for me, I'm like, this is a great teaching moment that I can use and I can share. And my kids are like, don't share that. I'm not going to share it because it's their life and they get to decide. And this is my 6-year-old up to my 21-year-old. Right. So I'm not going to say, oh, let me show you how this works unless they agree to that. Yolanda's daughter is nonverbal, so she cannot agree to that. So she's not going to say, oh, let me show you right now how I'm going to deal with this. The other thing is that my kids know that they are most important. So if something's happening in my house right now, no matter where I am, I can be on this, I can be on a work call. I'm going to tell you, I'll be right back. I'm going to go deal with this because they know that they matter. It's not going to be sit in the corner and be quiet. Yes, we still have boundaries. So you haven't seen my kids yet because I told them that I'm going live. If you need me, write me a note. If it's an emergency, let me know. I got it. Right. But that's part of the process. It's saying like, what do I need to set up in order for us to be successful in this moment? Well, I got to tell my kids what I'm doing. I had to ask one to get off one of their devices because I wanted to make sure my internet was going to work. And I told them what time I was going to be done and that we would talk about dinner after because that's what the conversation was going to be about. But I'm thinking through all of these things, not because I have a checklist, but because it's been a problem before. And when it came up before, I was like, oh my gosh, how can I make this better for the next time? Right. But what you won't see me doing is dealing with my kids in a way that's going to make you feel better about yourself. Because that doesn't matter because you aren't my priority.
I don't even know you.
My family is. And I get that. And I know that some people are uncomfortable with this. I know that, right? And I'm okay with that. I get it. But you being uncomfortable is not going to make me show up for my kids in a different way. Because of the work that I've done, I'm decolonizing and I'm divesting from the need for other people to approve of what I'm doing with my kids. That took a long time because a lot of what I was doing was based on what I don't want, especially when I was younger. I don't want people to look at me like just another young Black single mom who can't control her kids. That narrative was running through my
respectability politics.
Yeah. So I was like, oh no, y'all got to be quiet all the time and smile and be good. And now I'm like, but that's not really teaching you how to show up for you in life. Right. And so now I'm like, my daughter will have a, meltdown in the middle of the grocery store. And I'm not going to be like, we're going to sit there in the grocery store and we're going to figure it out. Right. Because I'm not worried about everybody else. This is about me being able to build relationships with them. And again, give them the tools to be in relationship with me, with each other, and with the world.
So, yeah. Thank you. I wanted to say that I know to a lot of people listening and watching that this is difficult to lean into. But when we're thinking about our children and when we're thinking about, the future of our community and the types of people that we want to see in our community, parenting isn't just about, and this is what I'm learning and this is what I'm hearing, parenting isn't just about an all-knowing adult controlling and looking down on a kid who needs to be taught a certain way, but rather it's a mutually beneficial relationship where parent. Hey, Leslie! Yeah, I see.
But that's decolonizing, right?
Yeah.
That colonization has you thinking that everything has to be hierarchical, that there has to be some one person in control who's giving control to all these other people based on who they deem necessary to have that control. Yes. And we do the same thing in our houses and say, I, as the adult, have all the control and I'm going to give you pieces in a way that makes me feel comfortable. I'm uncomfortable on a regular basis because my kids challenge and they ask for control. They're like, okay, but I kind of want, this makes sense to me. I want to do this. I'm like, well, hold on. Let's talk this through. What does that look like for you?
Yeah.
So yes, that's a big difference.
Co-creating.
Yeah. So parenting while Black, there's so much for us to unravel. There's the generational trauma we carry from that. There is a respectability politics that go on with Black parents, especially Black single parents who are expected to do all of these things. And then there's the whole notion of for us to be able to heal. Like that's a hard one, right? Yeah. That's a real hard one.
We're trying to do it while we parent. So it's very hard.
Yeah. And I just remember the moment that I apologize. I apologize to my son all the time, but I just apologize to my son. Well, not just apologize, but like when I sat and talked with him and said, if you remember when you were little, I used to whoop you and I haven't whooped you since. I'm sorry if I made you feel bad about that. I love you and I didn't know what to do. And I appreciate the relationship that we're building together now. I said that to my son. And it wasn't a lot for me to apologize to my son because, but the guilt that I was carrying from all of these things, to be able to apologize to him and let him know that what I was doing was a mistaken way of loving him and giving us the opportunity to correct it together, that was a healing moment for me.
Yes, it is.
And I think so many times we feel like we don't want our kids to see us in a weak moment. So tell us, what is that?
I feel like with parents, I know I didn't think my mom liked me for most of my life, most of my 20s. I know I didn't think she liked me when I was younger. I knew she loved me. I didn't think she liked me. And it was just about how she showed up. She's very, just sad. And I didn't realize that she was a person before she, like a full ass woman, you know what I'm saying? Before she became my mom and a young mother at that, 20 years old with no help really. And so it wasn't until I started going to therapy that I had the realization, like, my mom had her own trauma and her own stuff. And while that does not excuse the way I was treated, I started to humanize her. So when we start to extend empathy to other people, we can give it to ourselves. And when we start to extend grace to other people, we can do that for ourselves. That's all a part of healing. Being able to see your parent as a human being, not excusing what they did, but just seeing like you were a person with a whole life before you had me. And there was some stuff that I may not even be aware of, and that impacted how you showed up for me. That does not excuse, but again, it is just about really understanding that parents are human beings. And I think that's what gets lost in the sauce of talking about parenting, because we forget that we are all humans first. I was a woman, I am a woman, and I have so many identities. Motherhood is just one of my identities. And I think just being able to show my daughter all these different aspects of who I am, and not just her mom, but also the businesswoman, also the sister, also the daughter, and letting her see when I'm always have it together, apologizing when I'm wrong, crying when I'm sad, like showing her that I am a human being is gonna help her extend empathy to me. And also I'm able to, when I allow myself to be human, allow myself to feel all my emotions, I allow myself to feel that my own humanity, I'm able to better extend it to her. Like, that's how that works. It feels really big, but just saying to yourself, my children deserve to, of course, age appropriately understand who I am, in a sense. We've always seen, like, my mother's a very stoic woman. I've seen her cry. I seen her cry once when I was like, I think 12, and it jarred me. I was like, what? I didn't know she cried, and I don't think that should be a normal thing. We're human beings. We cry, we feel things. And of course, again, don't be inappropriate with it and push all your emotions onto your child. But it's okay if they hear you arguing with your spouse. It's also okay if they see you making up, repairing that rupture, That's how they model. That's how we model for them. And I'm gonna just tell you guys right now, I'm not going to ever apologize for my daughter in the background. So y'all can, if that's a problem for you, I know what to tell you. I'm a single mother and she is 4. She's gonna be back there. That's all I'm gonna say to that.
Amen. Domari and Yolanda, I want to thank you guys. It has been an absolute pleasure. It's been an enlightening time. We got a lot of healing to do. So I guess the very last thing I ask you to share is where are resources for there are if they're parents who want to heal, who want to begin this journey, or who want to change from the traditional mode of parenting, we're all doing the best we can. So where can we start? What are some resources?
Well, both of us are parenting coaches. Domari is one and I am two. We actually have a paid membership group where we actually do parent coaching, group coaching together in this group, as well as just have a space for us to come together off of Facebook because they be acting wild and out, putting people in meta jail. Because we discuss things about racism. Systemic issues impact the way we're able to show up as parents. To think that that's not the case is ridiculous. And so we have this group where we openly discuss these things. We discuss things like decolonizing sex and sexuality. We discuss discipline, and we're starting to do coaching. And so we will, you got that link, Domari? Because I showed up.
Somebody dropped it. I was like, oh, you're gonna drop the link in the comments because it's not gonna show up here. You gotta do it on the Facebook.
Oh, I'm not there.
So yes,
okay.
we will. Thank you. Yes. We'll drop it there. But
that.
Also just finding community so you don't feel like you're doing this on your own. So maybe Yolanda and I, they too honest, they too real, they ain't my cup of tea. That's cool. We ain't for everybody, and we know that. But find people whose goals are in alignment with yours, right? You're like, hey, you want to stop whooping your kids? Me too. What are we gonna do? There are books, there are podcasts that are out there. Again, what we will say is that a lot of this world is still hella white, but there are more and more of us who are coming around and saying like, look, our kids deserve to be treated like this too. Like this ain't just for them. It's more for us because this is how our ancestors, right? We're reclaiming this and going back to how we used to treat the kids, right? This ain't new to us. We just got to go back to it. So finding those communities, those books, those podcasts. Fair to the Free Child by Akilah Richards is an amazing podcast to listen to that talks about just changing your mindset around what this looks like. Yolanda has a podcast, Parenting Decolonized, that has guests on there who are talking about what does this actually look like? How do I do this in practice? And then the group is a space where we can say like, look, this is what my child just did and I really want to beat him. What else am I supposed to do? Y'all tell me. Right? Because that is real. A lot of times you can't think of what to do because you've never seen it. You've never seen it modeled. And all you know is like, I'm going to hit you. That's all I got. Right? So finding those spaces.
Because Domari is also in my other group. It's a free group, Conscious Parenting for the Culture. It's on Facebook where you can ask questions. It's a big group. Black parents, because it is important for us to have safe spaces to really discuss how racism and all these other systemic issues impact how we show up. And again, even just following us on social media, we give out free parenting advice all the time. And we follow people. So we're always like reposting their stuff to really just make it accessible. We know that transitioning to conscious parenting, when you are used to, more of a punitive mindset, is difficult. It's not easy. And we want to offer you some support. We want you to know that you are definitely not alone on this journey. There's so many people who want to do this, but you have to be willing to do the work. It's not just about like, how do I discipline? It's really about like, what mindset changes? Okay, I have an exercise real quick for y'all. If you really want to get started to do this and you don't know where to start, the easy way to start is just starting with your why. And just think about what is the relationship you want to have with your children when they're older? How do you want your home to feel now? What kind of feelings do you want to evoke in your home? And how do you want your children to show up in the world? So then you look at that and then you figure out, who do I need to become in order to help them, in order to make these things happen? Who do I need to become? What things do I need to let go of? What habits do I need to release, or mindset shifts I need to make in order to help these things come to fruition? And that is a good place to start right there, because then you can start seeking out. Go to TikTok. They got all kinds of stuff on there. Free people, like, Black therapists and stuff, discussing the mindset shifts that'll help you be more conscious every single day.
Wonderful advice. Thank you so much. This has been part 4 of our series, Generational Trauma. we have had an amazing and enlightening conversation with Domari and Yolanda. Links to their social media. We're going to drop that, and you're going to be able to watch the other 3 parts of our series on generational trauma as well. So we thank you all, and join us next time, and we'll continue to be talking about some really amazing things and how we can reach liberation together. All right, so thank you, everybody. Happy Friday, and everybody take care.
Thank y'all.
Bye,
Thank
y'all.
you.